Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to NTRL Ferrari Challenge. Round 2 is going to be up now. It was hosted at Monza last night. If you've never joined me for one of these, this is my own personal racing league. This is to kind of give back to my community and give them somewhere to race. In terms of the Ferrari Challenge, we use the Ferrari 458 GT3 in a 16 participant one make series. It's very competitive. There is battles throughout the field. BOP is on and tuning is not enabled. This allows the cars to be as close as possible and no one can really get a clear advantage. It's all going to be down to the driver in the end of it. If you missed round 1, it was Tiemo who took pole and myself who got the bonus point for the fastest lap, and it was myself who took the overall race victory. So let's head over to Monza now, and as you can see, it's going to be myself on pole this time, so that is going to be a bonus point already as the cars get underway and Tiemo gets a very good start. So heading up to turn 1 at Monza, I'm expecting Carnage, and it's looking like Tiemo has the inside line here, looking like he's pretty much safe. Turbo then gets it a little bit wrong and basically flies straight off of the track, which is a massive shame considering how well he performed in Barcelona. He's now basically going to drop all the way down the field and have to basically do a huge comeback to try and get himself back up again. Up front, it's myself and Tiemo battling away. As you can see, Tiemo absolutely defending here very well, very cleanly. I've had plenty of on-track battles with Tiemo over the last few months, and we both have kind of this mutual respect, and we kind of know where the limit is for each other without ending up, in a bit of a pile-up at the side of the road. We also have Jace in the background there, who's defending from J Mira, but up front it's looking like myself and Tiemo are in a bit of a class of our own as we begin to gap the rest of the field. The exact same thing happened at Barcelona, with Tiemo absolutely shooting off in the early stages before making a little mistake in the gravel and dropping a long way back. As you can see, Jace hanging in there nice and closely with J Mira just behind him. So there's kind of two separate little battles going on here before we go all the way back to P5, where the most of the grid is, with the likes of Professor Smiles, Archangel, again having another good early race. Demonetized Vet sitting in P7, and Turbo now down in P8 after that awful start, having another little bit of an off there. Really not his day early doors, so he's got a lot of making up to do in terms of ground lost after starting from P3. We also have Tommy Hawk in there, as well as Viper. He's also up there, and it's looking like, who else we've got in the background? We've got a Ferrari off there. I'm not sure if that was Danker Seb or Stee there. It was definitely one of them. I believe that was Seb there that went a little bit wide, as we have Archangel now running in the slipstream of Demon as we go down the main straight. We also have the likes of Jody and Stee side by side there, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes. It's looking like Stee has this one covered. He's just going to go defensive there. Jody trying to get the switch back but staying in the slipstream, so it'll be interesting to see if he can hold it through the first chicane. Is he going to get the drive out? We've got Turbo off there as well as Viper. Jody getting collected and then getting hit there in the side by looking like Snowplow, that hit her there. So she's dropped all the way back to P16, and then she's going to have another little off after this as well, I believe. So that's going to drop her around about 30 seconds that kind of off of the rest of the grid, which is a massive shame, looking like she had a ton of pace early doors. So on to lap 4 now, and Tiemo still leads the way. As you can see, there's still a bit of a gap between Jace and Mira and the two front runners, myself and Tiemo. Tiemo definitely having the upper hand in terms of pace early doors. Both cars are on the same strategy currently, running the mediums. I believe Tiemo will then later on go on to change his strategy, only running the hard tyres on the last stint, I believe. Actually, I think he took plenty of mediums this round, so he's basically going for flat out pace, and he's definitely got that early doors. As you can see, J Mira, he's still holding on to the back of Jace. Professor Smiles basically just ending up in no man's land again. The guy is always very quick, but all kind of just ends up basically in a race of his own, which he's having here, as you can see, as he goes through with that Spitfire liveried 458, looking very cool with those sharp teeth on the front. Demonetized Vet, he's just behind him, a little bit too further back though. Another car that's kind of just, potting around in his own race, as Archangel's now drops off the back of him in P7. A little bit further back though, we have Danker Seb and Stee battling it out, as Stee gets the inside line there. Seb is then going to have to back out of that He's going to then have to try and attack that position. Snowplow up in P10 currently, very, very good. This is a standing driver, as Peaky Blinder couldn't make this round. Off-World Atom, he is currently P11, I believe, getting caught up in the early doors Carnage. And obviously we have Turbo down in P12 after 2 offs inside, you know, and kind of under 2 laps there. So he's got a lot of making up to do. He's going to have to do a bit of a comeback after starting P3. Then we have DWG, Tommy Hawk and Jody, who's now beginning to start getting a bit more pace after dropping all the way back. So she's got a lot of ground to cover, just like Turbo Boy. So it'll be interesting to see what those two can do throughout this race. The battle between Seb and Steve continued onto lap 6. As you can see, Steve looking to get the inside line here, basically side by side. So very good racing from these two. They were at the exact same in Barcelona, just going at it pretty much the entire race. Looking like Steve had that one nicely covered, and to say he's racing with pretty much a broken finger, he's doing a very, very good job there. Currently in P7, so that's a very good result for these two. Danker Seb on a different strategy. He was the only car that did a different strategy last time, and it didn't pay off, but it's looking like it's doing well for him this time. Seb eventually did get the position back. However, a bunch of other cars got involved, including what looks like Turbo Boy in the background there and Off-World Atom, all going down into turn 1 into the chicane. This could be Carnage, so let's see how it goes. Steve getting a bit of a move there under brake. I'm not sure really what happened. He does have that one covered off as Turbo's gone off, Off-World Atom's gone off, and Seb has gone off. So Steve coming out pretty much unscathed, as the rest of the cars pretty much off everywhere. Turbo though does get a couple of positions moved up, so he's gone from P12 to P8 inside a few laps there as he's trying to get his comeback done. A little bit further back, it's looking like Seb came off worse. Before the first pit stops came up, it was myself and Tiemo battling it out. So who was going to basically make the move and who was going to pit first, it was unknown. So we're still going at it 7 laps into this race. I'm going to try a little move down the inside there, getting the rear end out. Tyre wear really starting to kick in at this point. I'm going to obviously then keep it to the right hand side because I plan to make my pit stop. Is Tiemo going to box as well? He does last minute. I've got a feeling that is going to give him a couple of second penalties for pit lane cutting there. So it's going to be a bit of a shame. But you know, if you cut the pit lane entry or the exit, then well, it's kind of going to happen. So it's myself and Tiemo taking the first pit stops of the race, getting off of those mediums. It'll be interesting to see who comes out first. It's looking like this is where the strategy changes though, as I've got myself on hard tyres and Tiemo has gone for another set of mediums. So Tiemo should definitely have the pace advantage here, and he should be able to take advantage of that even when he's served that 3-second penalty. So realistically, as long as he gets his foot down after he's served his penalty, he should be absolutely fine in terms of the pace of that car. The medium's much more suited to the Ferrari around here. The hards were very much sluggish, and to be honest, the life really wasn't that much better in them. However, we're required to run at both compounds. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, we have the likes of Professor Smiles, who decided to do a bit of gravel trap cutting, or whatever you want to call it, and then decided to start cutting grass as well. So yeah, great job by him. Usually in no man's land, he did have himself right up there at that point, so he's going to be a little bit gutted about that one, but he does get himself underway as he continues his charge through the field. A little bit later on though, we're around about a third of the way into the event. It was myself leading, still on the hard compound of tyres, with Tiemo just behind, still running the mediums. Obviously his 3-second penalty, putting him a few seconds out of contention really, but it's nothing he can't really make up. So Tiemo continues his charge in terms of getting on the back of me. If he does get on the back of me though, he's pretty much got the position at that point. The only thing that's really going to keep me in this is the extra length of life in those hard tyres. A little bit further back we have Jay Mary, who's now kind of just cruising around in his own race. Jace, he's behind him, followed by Demonetized Ve. They will have a bit of a battle later on, which you will see. But these guys kind of just in a world of their own at this point. Professor Smiles, he's P6 after his little off earlier on. Again, he's just basically in no man's land for this race, but always doing a very solid job. And that's really what you want in a longer season. It's just to be consistent with your positions, and that's exactly what he's doing. Off-World Atom, I believe he's a car that's not quite pitted just yet. He's P7 currently, but we have the likes of, you know, Seb, Turbo Boy and all that stuff just behind him. But I feel like pit stops are playing a bit of a role in terms of people's positionings. Seb, though, he is there in terms of his lap time and such. He has just pitted. He is currently P8, chased down by Turbo Boy, who's in P9 and continuing his charge up the field. Steve's dropped back a bit after his pit stops. He's currently rounding out the top 10 with Tommy Hawk in P11, and then just behind him is Viper, who's trying to chase him down. Not having the greatest round. He didn't have the greatest round in Barcelona either, but you can bet he's going to keep going all the way until the finish line. Snowplow, he's obviously the stand-in for this event. He's currently sitting in P13 with Archangel behind him in P14. Not a great round for Arch. He's just having a bit of a tough round this time at Monza, with Jody just behind him in P50, and so she's finally made a position up, definitely more on the pace than she was at Barcelona. And rounding up the back of the field we have DWG, who's just not having the best round at all. A little bit later on, Demon and Jace were battling it out. Demon's obviously overtook Jace at this point, and then, you know, Demon's basically just going to take himself for a spin there. Not quite sure what happened, but that allows Jace to get through and, you know, start getting a bit of clean track, and that's going to allow him to push on further into the race. Second bunch of pit stops around about the halfway point. Tiemo is going to box in nice and early. Again, taking another set of mediums. He is required to run the hards as well, so at some point he will have to do a hard stint. I believe he did tell me he took that stint last off. So he would have had to do an extra pit stop really, but he is aiming for overall pace. Archangel then decided to do a bit of a nice pirouette as he clips the gravel, gets himself sideways. How he kept it out of the barrier, I don't know. Really quite impressive, but he does manage to do the full 360 and keep himself going. So well done to Archangel there for keeping that one out of the barriers. Just after a little bit, it was myself on lap 18 doing my second pit stop, pretty much just over the halfway point at this point. I've put the hards off, the pace just wasn't there, and the lifespan really just wasn't as good as we expected, and I'm going to then try and chase down Tiemo, who has been on the mediums for just a little bit longer. However, he does lead the race. At 2/3 race distance, it was myself leading. Obviously, myself and Tiemo on different strategies. I believe Timo's just done an extra pit stop just now, with myself having to do another one inside the next 5 minutes. So that's really where the strategy are going to kind of show their hands, and we're going to see who had the better strategy, myself or Tiemo. He's currently in P2, again, still on the mediums at this point in the race. J Mira, no man's land for him. He's again just cruising along. P3 for him, a very, very good result. A track that he said he's not too confident at. So to see him do so well is only good for the series, because that means when he's at somewhere he's comfortable with, he's going to be doing very, very well. Jace, he's obviously very consistent as usual. He's currently P4, just ahead of Professor Smiles in P5. Turbo Boy, his charge through the field has gone very much to plan at this point. After a bunch of offs early doors from, kind of through his own fault, he is making up the ground. He's now P6 with Demon in P7. Again, a car that's kind of just in no man's land. He's already overtook all the traffic, so he's just kind of cruising around on his own. Dankaseb, another car that again is basically on his own, but having a very, very good race in P8. Definitely one of the standout drivers of that entire race. He was constantly just, cruising around, kind of best of the rest really, doing his own thing in P8, a much more improved result. Stee is P9 in that very nice liveried Ferrari. Again, with a broken finger, he's doing very, very good. Off-road at him, he's currently P10. I'm not sure if pit stops are kind of putting him out of position, but looking like he's going along very, very nicely. Viper currently P11, again not a great race for him, definitely having quite a few offs and not really where his pace should be. Tommy Hawk, he is currently in P12 with Jodie in P13 just behind him as she's continued her charge through the field after dropping back around about 30 seconds on lap 2 after those couple of offs. So definitely a very, very good charge through the field from her. Then we have Snowplow, DWG and Archangel, P14, 15 and 16. So let's go and check in on the later stages of the race and the final few pit stops. So this is going to be my final pit stop We've gone from a medium to a set of hards to a medium, and then we're going to go back on the mediums to try and secure that fastest lap. As we can see, Tiemo is coming through shot. He's just behind Viper there. It'll be interesting to see if he's going to come out in front. Obviously, two different strategies. Tiemo will have to pit again. Looking like he just clattered the curb there and did a bit of an overtake on the blue flag car under yellow flag conditions. So he's going to pick up a 3-second penalty at this point, which is a massive shame. It almost seems like his race is kind of just falling apart in these later stages, which is, like I said, a massive shame, because some of the on-track battles myself and him have had through these early 2 rounds have just been absolutely incredible, and he definitely had a ton of pace early on. As you can see, he currently holds the fastest lap. However, he will have to serve that penalty, and he will have to do another pit stop to get himself on a set of hards. Turbo, he continues his charge through the field as he goes side by side with Professor Smiles down the main straight. Again, a car that performed very, very well, and he could have been up there for driver of the day had he not made the, kind of clumsy mistakes early doors. But he was very much a solid driver throughout this whole race, doing a brilliant charge through the field. I believe eventually he's going to finish around about P4. As you can see, both Professor Smiles and Turbo basically closing in on Jace at this point. So Turbo's going to go through, and eventually the two Scotsmen are going to battle it out down the straight. Looking like Turbo's going to have the inside line going up to the next few corners. Is he going to be able to outrun Jace though? Did he get a better drive out of the corner before? Let's see. He's going to be on the inside. Jace not really going to battle that one too much. Kind of lets him through. I think Jace knows that Turbo had a ton of pace. So well done to Turbo for just a fantastic drive through the field. A little bit later on though, it's myself leading the race. There's around about 5 minutes to go in terms of the overall length of the event left. Tiemo, he sits in P2. His strategy really just letting him down in the end. Nothing really he could do. Putting yourself on a different strategy can be an absolute nightmare, because then you've got to try and massively recover if your strategy is not quite right. We also have the likes of J Mira, Turbo. He's currently P4 after his charges, gapping Jace at this point, who's currently P5 and being chased down by Professor Smiles, who finally sees a bit of action in one of these races. Again, a car that kind of just sits in no man's land the majority of the time. Very pacey and very consistent, but doesn't seem to have many battles. We also have Demon Dankaseb, a brilliant race for him, currently in P8. Adam, he is currently P9, so a very, very good job from him. Kind of, making it through the Carnage early doors in that big pack, and coming out very, very, very well, to be quite honest. Steve, he rounds up the top 10 with Viper just behind him in P11. Just behind him, though, is going to be Jody, as we can see by the leaderboard, who's had a very, very good drive, basically through the field. After dropping so far back, she can be quite pleased with that one. Certainly her best ever race in terms of the league. Archangel, he's had a bit of a nightmare. He currently sits P13. Really not his race this weekend. Quite a few offs for him. Snowplow, he sits P14 after a really rough early doors start. He's finally got himself up a few positions with Tommy Hawk P15 and DWG in last place. So in the end, it was going to be myself that takes the win, the fastest lap and pole position. So it's a clean house from me. Again, 2 wins out of 2. I'm just finding quite a lot of performance in this Ferrari, and I don't know where it's come from. So that is another win for me. Tiemo, he takes P2. Again, very, very fast. Just strategy letting him down in the end, but a very good job from him to take P2 once again. Very good race. J Mira, someone that wasn't very confident here, he rounds out the podium positions with a very solid P3. So massive well done to him, and a massive well done to this guy here, Turbo Boy, who takes P4, and Jace P5. Professor Smiles, he takes P6 in the Spitfire liveried 458. Very, very good job from him. Great to see him doing so well with Demon. Kind of having a bit of a no man's land race after his spin. He finishes P7. Dankis have a brilliant job in P8. Much more improved race and strategy this time around. Off-road Atom takes P9 with Steve rounding out the top 10. Viper, he's currently P11. He's, going to finish P11. Not a great race for him, but he did manage to, keep it going in the end, and definitely not finish as poorly as he probably thought he was going to. Jody takes a fantastic P12. A very, very good comeback from her, especially after dropping so far back early on. Definitely her best race. We also have Snowplow P14, Tommy Hawk P15, and DWG rounds us up with P16. Fastest lap came on lap 29. It was set by myself. It was a 1:47.954. So we're going to jump on board, well, with myself for the second race in a row in terms of the Ferrari Challenge to see how it was achieved. Most of this is really done by slipstreaming, really. If you can get a slipstream on a lap, you can guarantee it will be your fastest lap. All you've then got to do is just buckle in and basically keep it nice and clean through most of the chicanes. Riding the curbs in this Ferrari seemed to work rather quite well. If you got it right. If you didn't quite get it right, you can guarantee you was going to send yourself into a spin. So we're on sector 1 and we're almost a 10th up, getting the curbs nice and right, just avoiding Steve there, who gets it a little bit wrong, and that's kind of what happens if you do it wrong. You'll end up putting yourself in that gravel trap there, nice and tight into that corner there, getting the run out onto the curb, but not too much, or else that curb will cause you to basically have a bit of a twitch of the rear. Same again here, getting caught on the curb a little bit too much that time, so we are going to lose some pace there. We're then going to have a massive run all the way down to the Ascari. We're going to basically look for the patch on the right, which is a gravel there, the second bit, and then we're going to go into the left-hander. We're now 1.24 up. Through here nice and cleanly. If you can get the momentum up the straight, you're all good. As you can see, we're going to start catching a bit of a slipstream in front. I believe that's Archangel just up ahead. We're then going to try and use as much of that slip as possible to carry us all the way up the straight before the right-hander. Here we go, looking for just before the 50 board, trying to keep it nice and tight and get a nice run wide and then back down the straight to finish up the lap. Still getting a bit of a slip all the way back from there from Arch, so again that's going to help us along quite nicely, and that is going to be the fastest lap of the race over and done with. In terms of driver of the day next, it's going to be Jodie who takes that. After dropping back so far at the early stages, let's check in how she kind of basically got on. As you can see, P13, she was right up there and battling away. She was battling away with Steve here, and then I believe it's Turbo Boy that actually gets it on the gravel, and she's basically just going to end up collected by him, hit by a snowplow and spun around, and then she's going to have to try and get herself going again. She did, and then she got herself back in the gravel. So at one point she was around about 30 seconds back, but she did start her charge by taking over DWG for P15 as he went into the gravel. After that, it was up to her to try and get P14, and she took that away from Snowplow with a very, very good run down the straight here. As you can see, they're almost side by side. She did get the better run out of the corner, so this is going to allow her all the momentum she needs, and she's probably going to pull off one of the better overtakes she's ever done. Already ahead of him by the time of the corner. She's then going to get that one covered off and get herself through, and that is going to be job done for P14. P13, that came in the form of Arch having a spin, and then Jodie riding all of that momentum. As you can see, that's my car there trying to get through the lap traffic. She did finally get that move done as he got to the end of the straight. Arch is just going to go a little bit wide, get himself on the dirty side of the track, and she goes on through. P12, that would come through Tommy Hawk's pit stop. He did eventually pit, he did fall quite a bit further back, but she did that under pit stop conditions, and that moves up to P12. So after being very, very far back, she did manage to claw back a bunch of positions. So let's check in with the points standings after 2 rounds. It's myself leading with 53 points. P2 goes to Tiemo with 47. We're almost kind of in a class of our own at this point. Joint P3 goes to J Mira and Turbo Boy on 41 points. Professor Smiles is kind of best of the rest with 36 points, with Jace just behind him with 34. Demon, he's a little bit further back with 32 points in P6, and then there's a big gap with Steve in P7 with 19 points. We've got then 2 for joint 8th place with Seb with 18, and Offworld Atom again with 18. Peaky Blinder not being able to take part in this round, hence his standing Snowplow. He's still P9 with 13 points. Joint P10 goes to Viper and Arch, who are both on 11 points, with Jodie a very good P11 with 7 points after that fantastic result. Definitely could have been better had she not had that off early on, but she is currently at P11 on 7 points, with DWG 4 points in P12, with Tommy Hawk and Snowplow joint 13th on 3 points apiece. Next round will be in 2 weeks time for the Ferrari Challenge League, and we go to Interlagos next. You don't want to miss that one, because I feel like a lot of people are going to start turning it up now for the rest of this season, and well, there's a lot of people that are very confident around there. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss an upload from me. I upload GT7 and motorsport content each and every day for your viewing pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me, and a big thank you to my sponsors, the controller people and poggers. As you can see, there's a nice little logo in the top left of the image. Thank you to my channel members as well, and thank you to all you guys who have tuned in and watched this series. I'll see you all next time. Peace.